Hey friends, why is the camera not working? What? Come on now. It was completely fine. Hang on. Hey! What is going on? Why is nothing working? Why is it out of focus? What is happening? Hold on. Why is that not? This is ridiculous. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti, blah, 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 blah. Wow, like nothing's working. What the hell, dude? What? Okay. That's really bad. Well. Wow, okay. That's super shitty. The power did go out earlier today. I think the power might have surged and blew a whole bunch of stuff up because There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these Wi-Fi controlled lights that are not turning on at all. And they're not even turning on when I cycle power to them. Wow, that's a very expensive day. Okay, well, there's kind of nothing I can do about it. Wow, that super sucks. Welcome to Whoop Wednesday. Man, it looks terrible without those lights. It looks absolutely awful in here. What can I do? Nope, I can't do that. I can... well, it's just gonna look like shit in here, I guess. There's not a whole lot I can... There's kind of nothing I can do. Damn. Sign behind me is flickering. Yeah. The USB port on the lava lamp has shit the bed. And that's what that little guy is powered by. Weird. Wow, very weird. Yeah, I mean, I noticed it earlier with the light over there. It was just fully dead. And then, yeah, this one is also dead. And then there's 3 here to the right. They're all dead. And then there's 2 back behind the TV that are dead. That sucks. In the chat, Hockey Rounds is first. Doubles FPV was next. Denzel, the Terrible, Frank Nicholas, Rocket Tech, Slow Cal, Northern Tier, Cloudhopper, Walter Van Den Ord, Great Scott, Sleepy CBR, Denzel, the Terrible, Tongue Out FPV, Douglas Otwell, Bergeron, Smoke a Dog, Cujo FPV, Toast, Javich, Metal Dirtskin, Andy XX, Moss 1, Denzel, the Terrible, CMYK FPV. If you want the Gangly Man to say your name, you got to get into the chat earlier. That was some footage from a gig that I was just on, third time flying for Atlanta Autos. The quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs college sports ball team took a helicopter in to buy a $750,000 Ferrari. That's the world that we live in, my friends. A college kid did that. But, you know, poor people are the problem, obviously. Yeah, I've never been so confused in my life. But hey, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I'm very confused. I'm very confused how that's like allowed. You know, like I thought it was. You would think that college would be about like college. You know, like I don't know, learning, being a better person, right? Like expanding your and here we are. Yeah, I don't know. This is the strangest day of my life. The guy that I have to get this footage run through RealSteady like now. And so every once in a while you're going to see me and hear me mousing, and that is me running this footage through RealSteady and uploading it to Google Drive. So I apologize, but I just need to get it done. He's doing the edit for tomorrow. And so, yeah, away we go. Welcome to Flying for a Living. It's, oh, you fucker! RealSteady just bombed. God damn it. Hang on. I gotta fucking... it's not all champagne and naked women, my friends. It's actually, none of it is actually that, but not gonna complain because it's pretty rad. But it's work, just like all things. And it's fun when you're flying, but then it's work before and after. It's work when you're flying sometimes. Sometimes you just have to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And like, I don't know, that's kind of fun in a weird way. Man, I can't believe it. It blew up all three. I'm so confused how it blew up all three of these lights. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't understand. I don't understand! So it's this plug. And I mean, these were all on surge protectors, and none of the surge protectors popped. What the fuck, dude? Like, the lights are just dead. Like, they're all the way dead. The light bulbs are just completely fucking dead. When you pull power from the light bulb, and then you put power back to it, it's supposed to turn on no matter what. But none of them are. None of them are turning on. Let me leave this one unplugged for a second, and then I'll plug it back in. I don't know, maybe there's like an internal fuse that needs to reset or something like that. It's not going to help because I did that with that one over there. But yeah, I don't know. Super weird. Yeah, no, they're dead. Oh no, there's hey, there's one. Holy shit. Okay. All right, hold on. They just need no power for a couple seconds, apparently. For longer than I gave them no power. All right, hold on. We got this. It's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Hold on. Ah! All right, here we go. And this one. Hey, this one. Hey! What about this one? Hey! What about this one over here? Nope. One of these is still dead. Oh wait, hold on. I might have turned it off on the floor switch. Ah! Hold on, there's two more. Hold on, you can't see them. Ah! Ah! We're back, motherfuckers. All is well. All right. And then a little bit of this, a little bit of this. All right, well, they do appear to have all lost their bind or whatever. Oh no, there it goes. Look at that. Wow. Technology, man. So yeah, there's that. 62 is done. 63 is the last file. Let's drop it into GoPro Player. Let's close 62. Look, this is what, if you ever wondered what RealSteady is. So, what RealSteady looks like, rather. So, I have to redo the one. Oh, you fucking bastard. I hate it. When RealSteady, now called GoPro Player, when it crashes, it deletes all of the settings because, you know, why not? Why not just things that shouldn't happen? You know? Why not? Oh, it didn't delete the settings for this one, though. I just deleted the file like a jackass. That's okay. This is RealSteady workflow, if anybody was curious. So this one has already had the sync points fixed. The sync points that it automatically puts in are just awful. And so it's really, really, really important to do a manual sync point. Sync points are pretty easy, though. You're just going to scrub the footage, and you look for a part of the footage where there's a very clear horizon line. And then that's where you're going to put the sync point. So you just scrub, 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 scrub. And like something outside with the horizon is always sort of the best. To scrub, scrub, scrub. There's going to be something here. There we go. Well, the trees on the left side are a little bit too high. It'll still work, but see if there's anything better in here. Once or twice, I know I jumped up. Come on. The horizon line doesn't need to be flat either. It just has to be visible. There just has to be like a visible horizon line of some sort. This would actually work here. This would work, believe it or not, because there's some sort of a... But see how you guys probably can't see it because of the stream. There's power lines that are actually at an angle, and so we don't want to use this frame. Here we go. Over here, this will work here, right here. So it's going to use this up on top. This should be totally fine. But see, now I got to reset all the controls because, you know, reasons. I always set the smoothness to 10 and the cropping speed to 10. You have to break this little link between the two of them, though, in order to do that. This way it's like super subtle. And then we're going to apply. And since horizon leveling was turned off, there was no option to put a sync point in there. And then in a second, it's currently trying to, oh no, it's done. So yeah, now there's this option for sync point right here in the middle. So yeah, we're going to use, oh, even better. Here we go. Here's a perfect frame for it. That's a great sync point right there. So you click that, you click this, analyzing the scene, stabilizing, and then it's going to draw a dotted line between your sync point and the sync point that it guessed on. And now look how bad this sync point is. This is not a good sync point. It's going to try to do it from this diagonal line of the roof. This is a terrible sync point. Almost all of the automatically generated sync points are terrible. You almost always want to go in and trash them and then use your own. And then just super quick, just play it and make sure that the horizon is somewhat level and you're good to go. The horizon is actually perfectly level. So now we're good. Command E for export. For some reason, it always guesses that you want ProRes, which is dumb. So you crank it down to H.264, put the bitrate to max. This stuff is all already set. Next. And then just put something in the name to designate the fact that it's a smoothed out file. And you're done. That's how you do it. And then you put them into a folder for the client, and they eat them. This has been your daily installment of Gig Life 2024. All right, so let me just hang this file up here so I can see that little percentage bar, and cool, we're good to go. I farted. I tried to get health insurance yesterday. If you were thinking about trying to get health insurance, don't do it. Yesterday and today, I have gotten over 40 individual text messages and 30-ish emails and around 30 or so phone calls as well, because I made the mistake of trying to get privatized individual healthcare. And in order to do that, in order to get the quotes, you have to put your info in, and they immediately sell all your info. And I can't even get it because there are no open enrollment windows. I have to wait until November. So yeah, total nightmare. I definitely don't recommend it. Just make a savings account and put 100 or 200 bucks in there every month, and then you'll have a ton of money in there for if and when you get sick, and then you can just use that money. And then if you don't get sick, you got a whole bunch of money somewhere if like something else happens. So do that, because this shit's a fucking scam, and it's just gross. I'm of course being overly dramatic, but I'm absolutely infuriated at the moment. I will calm down, hopefully, as long as the frequency with which my phone goes off and my email goes off slow down a little bit. But you know, yeah, total fucking nightmare. And the cheapest health insurance that it's looking like I'll be eligible for is $480 a month. And I don't really think that I can afford that. Nor do I think it makes sense to afford that, right? Like if I put $480 a month into a savings account, that's almost $6,000 a year. If I do that for a couple years, like, yeah, that'll be an awful lot of money in case I get sick. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just appalled at the whole situation. So yeah, there's that. That's been yet another complete and utter nightmare. If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you want to support me on the insane adventure that is attempting to do FPV as a full-time job, head on over to CiottiFPV.com. The best way that you can support me is to join my Patreon. You get the most benefits. It'll only cost you 10 cents a day. If you're into FPV, I know damn well you've got 10 cents a day. I'm going to save you a ton of money because you're going to have access to a bunch of tech articles, a couple of Facebook groups, the full Discord channel, and you're going to get a bunch of notifications every single time I live stream. And eventually I will tell you not to buy something that you were going to buy because it catches on fire. And as soon as that happens, you just saved yourself enough money to cover a Patreon membership for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on what it is. You know, if it's a stack, that's like $100 and something. You can subscribe with $100. You can be on my Patreon for 3 years, 2.5 years. I'm just saying. And if you're addicted to gambling, I got you covered. I do giveaways the first Monday of every month. $5 tier will enter you to win Tiny Whoop and Toothpick stuff. $10 a month tier will enter you to win 3-inch micro brushless and Cinewhoop stuff. $20 a month tier will enter you to win 5-inch parts. If you're just out of your mind addicted to gambling, there's a $30 a day tier that'll enter you to win everything. So you'll be entered into three giveaways a month every single month. Those are the folks that tend to win a lot. When you win a giveaway, it's anywhere from $50 to $100 worth of stuff. So it pays for a whole bunch of months of your Patreon. Hey, 63 is done. And dragging it into Google Drive. And text messaging Twan. All files are up. Let me grab the link to make his life easy. Copy link. Paste. There we go. Hopefully he pays me. I don't usually do that. I don't usually send people a link to the files until they've paid. But I've worked with them before, and yeah, I trust them. That has bitten me in the ass once before. I had a client screw me out of $1,200. But yeah, I don't know. That was me. This was not a $1,200 gig that I was on. $1,000 or more, and I don't play this game. But smaller gigs, yeah, I'll do this. I got screwed on the other one because I did a gig for the guy. This is early days. I did a gig for the guy, and then I did another one, and then I did a third one, and so there were 3 stacked up. I should have never done the second one, but you know, you learn these lessons. I had done a ton of work with this person, like over a year's worth of work. So I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I made a ton of money with him, and then I made a stupid mistake towards the end. But yeah, it's not like it was the first, second, and third gigs I ever worked with him. It was probably like the 8th, 9th, and 10th. You know, still sucks bad because, you know, that's 3 full days of like 5-6 hour days, right? Charge all the batteries, set the gear up, drive all the way out there, fly, drive all the way home, process all the footage, upload all the footage, discharge all the batteries. So yeah, still a huge loss, but life sucks sometimes. Climb up on the roof and jump off. 60, 62, 63, 60, 62, 63. All right, cool. We're good. This is good to go. This is good to go. CMYK says, what's up, Gangly Gang? And CiottiFPV. Moss1 says, what's up? CMYK also dropping the CiottiFPV.com link. Thank you, dude. CMYK says, stuttering video intermittently for me. Yeah, that's because I was playing a 4K file and OBS is running with 4 cameras feeding into it, and RealSteady Go was processing. So, yeah, the computer was... there was smoke pouring out of the computer. Denzel is terrible says, perch on a helicopter blade. Not a chance in hell. Each one of those helicopter blades cost $60,000. I'm not kidding. 60000. If you're ever around a helicopter that is currently in service or going to be in service, stay the fuck away from the blades. Because if you bump into the blades on one of those, that blade is shot. They do not play games with the blades on the helicopters. If anything, fuck you! If anything touches the blades, that blade is considered done. They trash it, and they replace it. And so yeah, don't do it. The service. Oh, I talked to the pilot. What did he say the service interval was on those blades? Oh, I forget the number of hours that he said. It might have been 5,000 hours, but it's the service interval is basically 4 to 5 years. Every 4 to 5 years, they have to replace each one of those $60,000 blades if there have been no incidents. But yeah, as soon as anything hits the blade, bird strike, whatever, they're loading it onto the trailer and something weird happens and the blade dings into something. Doesn't matter what it is. Those blades touch anything and they're done. All right. Wild stuff. But hey, I would... That's a good idea, because if something happens in a helicopter, yeah, it all goes bad fast. So makes a lot of sense to be insane about maintenance with them. Denzel the Turbo says, is the LED sign flickering? It is indeed. Nasty says, okay, so the flickering seems to really be driving you guys nuts, so I will unplug it. Fair enough. Wait, I can... Actually, hold on. I'll do you one better. Here we go. Here you go. This'll make you happy. I should have done this a while ago. Oh, come on, you fart. What? Hey! Oh, why is it on? I don't want it to be on. Is it getting brighter and darker? I just want it to be bright. Stay bright. Stay bright, you. That was cool. It gradually got brighter. I've never seen it do that before. Trying to find where I was in the chat. There we go. Frank Nicholas says your personal lighting looks okay. Background's a little dark, but it doesn't look bad. It's all better now. Now it looks right again. Striker says, hey. Striker says, did you see the new Tanq S? I did at Rampage. We were checking it out. It's interesting. It's an interesting frame design. It's weird. There's some crazy angles and edges on it that he was really hell-bent on keeping it under 250 grams. So it's a funky looking frame, but it seems to be pretty strong. And yeah, Denzilla Terrible says, I thought college ball players weren't supposed to get paid. They're not, but they do. Strager says, or not new, officially released now. Walter says, I'm surprised a long time. And no, I'm trying to behave. Those words are for children. Gotcha. Denzel the Trouble says, well, okay then. I'll just take my champagne and naked women and show myself out. Frank Nicholas says, do your lights have a hub? Power cycle the hub. They're all plugged into power strips, but those power strips power a bunch of other stuff, so I couldn't just flip the power strip off and on. Strager says, unfortunately, I want to be an aerospace engineer, so I have to go to college. Do you think college is overrated? Absolutely not. College is not overrated at all. College is poisoned by sports. That's for fucking sure, in my opinion. But college is one of the best things that you can possibly do in your life. You will grow as a person unlike anything, almost any other experience that you will have. And you will become a much more globally minded human being that understands like the actual world rather than just like a 10-mile circle around yourself. There are certainly other ways that you can get the maturity and the experience and the open-mindedness that you get from college, but it'll take a lot more time. And yeah, and you gain a lot of knowledge. It's just fantastic. If you ever have a chance to go to college, or even just like go to a community college and take a couple of classes, it's the pinnacle of education, right? I mean, it's like as good as it's gonna get in terms of cramming a bunch of knowledge into your brain as quickly as possible from people who have devoted their lives to doing that, right? Maggie has worked. The biggest thing that she is doing and will ever do in her life, other than maybe raising two human beings, is imparting knowledge onto 100 to 150, let's say, young people every semester. Fuck was that? What was that noise? What the hell? Hold on. What was that? The hell was that noise? Ah! What was that? Where are you? Demon? What the what was that noise? Ugh. Ugh. All right. I think I'm safe. What the hell, man? I don't even know how to describe the noise. But it wasn't a human noise. It was not a noise from this planet. And it was like right there. It was like close. Please don't anally probe me. There's nothing up there. Just poops. I'm a below average example of humans. Lots of other people that you would be better off studying. You hear me? As if aliens would speak English. Alright, cool. That's good to go. Curtis Hayes says, just got a Mobula6 HDZero, and when I plug it into Betaflight, there's no OSD tab. Expert mode is enabled. Go into the configuration tab, and you have to turn the OSD on in there. Ha! That's something that everybody forgets at least once. It's weird that it's turned off, though. Denzel the Terrible says, why do you choose RealSteady over GyroFlow? RealSteady is what I've just always kind of used. It works really, really well. And it's just, I mean, you guys saw it. It's just like, drop the sync point and go. And click the button and it's just done. GyroFlow, I know it was getting a lot better. But, yeah, last I saw, there was still a lot more clicking and time and whatnot that needed to be put into it. And like, you know, RealSteady works with the Hero 10. Well, yeah, I mean, Hero 7 on RealSteady works, and it's quicker and it's easier. So, like, yeah, I'm gonna use it. If I wanted to stabilize footage from something where RealSteady's not gonna work, I would use GyroFlow, but I haven't had to do that yet. So, yeah, no real reason to spend all of the time to learn GyroFlow and then the extra time to kind of, you know, use it. Is for me, like, what has happened in the last year and a half or so, now living in a house that needs a lot of attention with kids that, you know, it is my honor to give time and attention to, is that, like, everything I do is based around how can I save time. It's just my entire life is now just time management. And yeah, I mean, if I can save one click, I'm gonna save that one click. It's just I just can't believe how impossible it is to find time. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. So yeah, I look for little tiny efficiencies absolutely everywhere because, you know, grams make ounces and ounces make pounds. So yeah. Walter says, do you make backups on the spot? I don't. If I am flying unrecoverable, I will pull the memory card and put a fresh memory card every single time I go up unrecoverable. This is not a location that's unrecoverable, so I mean, it's fine. I just run the memory card the entire time. Sometimes I'll have clients that ask me if they can grab the raw footage right off the card before I leave, and I tell them no because I have to run it through the stabilization software, otherwise it looks terrible. And they all go, oh, cool, okay, and they get excited. So Denzel the Terrible says, I totally don't understand what you are doing with sync points. GyroFlow stabilizes automatically using gyro data. Curious why you do it this way. It just works better to do it this way. The automatic stabilization with Horizon Lock, it works pretty well. And those garbage sync points usually work. Sometimes they don't, though. And all the sync point is, like I said, it's just you telling the software, hey, there is a visible horizon in the frame. That's what I want for you to have as level. Because the gyros can yeah, sometimes not be perfectly oriented. And sometimes they'll be like wander. I've always assumed it has to do with all the vibrations that are going on. It probably also has to do with like when you turn the GoPro on, if you're holding it sideways or something, it's gonna like it could. I don't really know, but I know that it works. That's what I do know. Every once in a while, when there's a file that before I started doing the sync point thing manually on every single file, since it doesn't take any time, it would be like maybe 1 out of 10 files that the stabilization would be like a little bit jittery, or the horizon wouldn't be perfectly flat. It would be ever so slightly off to the side. And so I did a little bit of research on sync points and how they work and how to set them, and it was like, wow, this is stupidly easy. So I just started doing it on each one. And it's also my opportunity to very quickly scrub through the footage and play the footage to make sure that there's nothing wrong, because it really sucks to upload a bunch of footage and then the client messages you back and he's like, yo, this one file looks terrible. What the hell's going on here? So it kind of kills two birds with one stone, because I don't sit here and watch all the flight footage back. I don't have time for that. But I do scrub through it, and yeah, that lets me see what the hell's going on. Cloudhopper says, can you describe what brake on stop and brake on stop off does? So when you disarm, it makes the propeller stop. It uses the braking of the motors to stop the propellers a little bit quicker. That's all. And so I always turn it on, because God forbid there's an emergency, I want the propellers to stop right away, right? If I hit somebody in the head and it starts to get tangled up in their hair, I want the motors to stop instantly. So yeah, it's a safety feature as far as I'm concerned. SOS Death Valley says Cootie, COTTI. If you want to tag me, you got to type CiottiFPV. It's the name of the channel. He says, what AIO is in the thumbnail? This is the Betaflight F4 1S 12 amp version 3. The reason I chose this is that it doesn't have a USB port. They put a JST port that's nice and flat on the board, and then they give you a little adapter that adapts that JST port to USB. A bunch of these 75mm frames for 2S have the battery tucked up really far, and a regular AIO with the USB port sticking down the bottom sticks into the battery storage area, which is obviously not going to work. So yeah, this is why I chose this particular AIO. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's going to blow up as soon as I put power to it. I don't know if it has a ton of problems. It's fairly new though, so there's not going to be a whole lot of info on it. Rocket Tech says, overly dramatic maybe, but not wrong. That's a pretty good description of me as a human being. CMYK putting the CiottiFPV.com link into the chat again. Thank you, dude. Walter says, okay, I never talk about Ali again. I didn't know you were talking about Ali in the first place. CMYKFPV says, half up front. Oh, I wish, man. Nobody is really willing to do that. I tried that for a while and lost, I think it was like 3 jobs. The clients just refused. They just said no. And I was like, okay. And like I held the line. And then it happened again. And then when it happened the third time, I was like, I can't do this. I have to book gigs. If I'm ever weirded out by a client, or like if it's my first time working with them, I'll get a $100 deposit, which covers gas and time and whatnot. But yeah, half up front is not something for whatever reason that people are willing to do with me. So, is it fluoxetine or is it floxetine? I'm gonna say flox. He says we need CiottiFPV branded extreme whoops. Extreme whoop. That's a cool name instead of ultimate freestyle tiny whoop is cool and all, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue. Extreme whoop. That might be a thing. That might be a thing. I don't know how I would brand one though. I do know how I would brand it. It would be a white framed whoop with red stuff, right? Like the logo. It would be white and red. The branding would be color based. If anybody ever makes a tiny whoop AIO again that's durable, I would be willing to sell whoops. I've built and sold 3 2G4 based tiny whoops. We did live auctions. It was super fun. Yeah, hopefully the Mobula6 2024 version 2 AIO with motor plugs. Hopefully that is durable. Because then I would totally be willing to buy a bunch of those and yeah, get them all white and redded out. We could do I would love to do one with the in the V3 frame with the hooks in the front with a batwing mount. That would be super cool. But then yeah, the majority of them would be like regular freestyle style. And I would love to build them and sell them in the light AF newbie drone frame. And it's been holding up totally fine, the white one, which is awesome. I love that the white frame is the strong one and the black one is the one that was breaking right away. So yeah, you never know. Slowcow says 2,000 hours for R66 main rotors. 2,000 hours. Although, you know, those guys don't fly like tons and tons. You know, they go up, they come down. They don't fly for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end. So yeah, 2,000 hours lasts at least a few years, which is crazy. But yeah, think about that. 2,000 hours, and it's $12,000. I'm sorry, not 12. 120,000. Yeah, because there's 60 grand each. $120,000 every 2,000 hours. What the hell? What's that work out to? Really? The calculator won't want... Oh, no, there it is. It's just on the other screen. 120,000 divided by 2,000. That's $60 an hour. That's actually not that bad. I thought it'd be way worse than that. I feel like I did that math wrong. Whatever. Scotty Scott says, got a DJI Air unit for $50. It's a good deal. I need a frame to fit it. Any ideas? Oh my god, I don't think there's a frame that won't fit it. I mean that yeah, I don't know of any frames at this point that don't have 20x20 mounting in either the rear or in the middle. And that's what the Air unit. Oh, wait a second. Did you get a full-size Air unit? If you got a full-size Air unit, I don't even know where to begin. Hopefully you got a 20x20 Air unit. Because, yeah, they'll fit in anything. If that's a full-size Air unit, that's going to be tough. I don't know where to even begin. It's been so long since... basically, you're going to want to look at, like, 3-year-old frames. You're going to look for frames that are about 3 to 4 years old. Those are the ones that... Some of them have provisions or have been sized in a way that the Air unit, the full-size Air unit will fit in them. Full-size Air unit is actually really nice. Double antenna, DVR on board. It's just so goddamn big. Straker says, what are your thoughts on T-Motor Blackbird 2207.35? 0.35. Oh my god. I hate everything. 2125 kV. Yeah, I mean, they'll make all the power in the world, so it'll be impossible to control, but it'll be super fun. You'll spend all of your time hanging out 1,000 feet up. But yeah, I mean, that's an awful lot of power. It's gonna be very, very difficult to fly. Rigs with that kind of power to weight ratio are really tough to fly. Definitely not like beginner ready. If you run that as a beginner, you're going to learn very slowly. You're going to have fun, but it's going to take you a lot longer than it should to learn. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But, you know, it'll be fun. That's for sure. It's just the flight footage won't look good. You'll be having a lot of fun, but nobody will want to watch your flight footage. Timon says, helicopter parts are insanely priced. I just scrapped $127,000 worth of 9F transmission parts today for a Bell 407 expensive day for the Stabilies. Jesus Christ. Rocket Tech says, you are the consummate host. Thanks for letting the sign up for us. You're certainly welcome. Curtis Hayes says, I think military service is better than college. You get paid to learn those things you mentioned, and you serve your country while doing it. I don't agree. I'm not a fan of the military. Look, I'm not a fan of us spending the amount of money on our military that an amount of money that the next 26 nations combined spend. That's my main problem with the military service in this country. It's a bit much. It's a bit much, you know? Like it makes sense to like spend the most. I get that. But the second place through 27th place combined, like that's kind of, is that really where we want all of our tax money going? Shouldn't we like maybe spread it around with some of the other stuff a little bit more? Just a little bit, you know? Like maybe like, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. My other big issue with enlisting is that they kind of own you, right? Like you enlisting in the military, it seems like just like something you just, whatever. I'm not doing anything next week. I'll go like join up, whatever. Basic training, it'll be cool. I'll make some money. But then like, God forbid we go to war, like guess what? Your ass is fucking getting shot at. So that's kind of tough. One of the things I'm most thankful of that my parents ever did for me was explain that when I wanted to enlist and explain that, like, you know, they own you until the point that you're too old to serve. But yeah, they own you, and regardless of whether or not you're for or against the war, your ass is getting shot at, or else you're getting court-martialed, right? So yeah, I that's scary as hell. But you know, it's all just doing stuff, right? It's all just doing something with your life. If you can afford to do college, though, it's an awful lot less risky, and you know you're gonna get taught things by some of the best educators that mankind has to offer. Like, no offense to drill sergeants and whatnot, but they're not the smartest people. That you know, they're the toughest people, and sure, they're obviously very intelligent people in the military, but college is, you know, if you want to put them against each other, there's going to be more a higher number of, and in theory more intelligent people in colleges, because that's what they've spent all of their time on, right? Like, they've spent all of their time learning. They haven't spent a whole bunch of time shooting at people or targets, going through basic, right, getting stomped. And you know, life is just time, right? Like, just like top to bottom. You want to get good at something, all it takes is time. And so you can really break all of life down pretty simply by just looking at time spent. And you know, professors in higher education have spent more time than anyone else learning their craft and learning how to teach other people that. And yeah, it's a hell of an honor to get to go to college and spend time with those people. Striker says, already taking dual enrollment at local community college definitely helped me become a better overall human being and develop actual study habits. Yeah, it's very lucky. Those of us that have gotten to go to college, and people that do get to make that happen for themselves or whatever, it's a hell of a privilege. Curtis Hayes says, that was it. OSD tab is there now. Thank you, Mr. 8 Years of Knowledge. You're certainly welcome. Yeah, and it took me like 7 years to find. I swear to God, I had a rig where I I didn't realize that it took me a little bit longer than it should have to realize that the OSD switch was flipped. I think it was like last year. It hadn't happened to me in forever, and there's it's super rare that OSD switch is ever turned off, right? Like most 99% of the time it's on by default, so you just kind of forget that it's there. So yeah, it's not just you. No matter how many years you have an FPV, you are never not gonna have that moment where you stare at Betaflight and go, "What the fuck? Why is this happening?" So, yeah. SOS Death Valley says, "Damn phone, sorry, damn phone, LOL." Curtis Hayes says, "OSD tab is showing in Betaflight on the Mobula 6, but no OSD in the OSD." Your camera is probably NTSC, and you've got it set to either PAL or HD. Or your camera is PAL, and it's set to NTSC or HD. That's the most common thing that causes that. Chronic Nugget says, "How bad do you think it is to fly with a bent motor shaft while I wait for the replacement? Will it damage anything other than the motor?" It could blow up the ESC. Probably not, though. If it's going to blow up the ESC, when you arm the quad and start to put throttle in and the PID loop comes online, it'll fly away. As long as it's not doing that, then you're totally fine. It's just going to put a little bit of extra vibration into the PID loop that the filtering is going to have to work a little bit harder to filter out, and then the PID loop is probably going to work a little bit harder. So the long and short of it is, regardless of how banged up a motor or a propeller is, you can pretty much always assess whether or not it's going to light some shit on fire by how hot the motors are getting. So whenever you guys bang up a propeller and you don't feel like bending it back, or you bang up a motor and you're going to keep running that motor, arm it, take it off, hover it for 5 seconds, drop it back down, walk up to it, touch the motor bells. If the motor bells are not screaming hot, you're fine. Take it back off, fly it around a little bit, push it into prop wash, give it a couple full throttle blips, bring it right back, land it, pick it up, touch the motors. If the motors are not ripping hot, you're good to go. Fly it until the cows come home. If the motors are ripping hot, you can go into the PID, you can pull the PIDs down, it's this way. You can pull the PIDs down a little bit, and that'll help quite a bit. But yeah, motor heat tells the tale. If your motors aren't getting like just astronomically hot, go for it. Kevin the Alien says, "Call it the Ultra Extreme Tiny Whoop." Really go in modest. Really go in modest. Nice. Steve Jobs says, "Anything wrong with SuperbeeX with motor plugs? What's a good price for a 2G4? I would pay $100 for a 2G4, to be honest. You're not gonna find them, but if you can find one, yeah, it's the best tiny whoop AIO ever made. Hopefully the Mobula 6 2024 V2 is better than the V1, because boy, have we seen a lot of the V1s blowing up right out of the box lately. So we'll see. Anything wrong with SuperbeeX with motor plugs? The old SuperBee AIO sucked. The new SuperBee, which I think is the SuperbeeX, but basically the AIO that now comes with the Mobula 6 2024, which has motor plugs on it, it's too new to say if there's anything wrong with it. I have one that's 95% good. Both of these new Mobula 6 2024 AIOs have some very strange mid-throttle oscillations that cause a little bit of jello that nobody's been able to really figure out quite yet. So that's kind of annoying. For freestyle, you probably won't ever notice it. But it is there. And then they act a little bit funny from time to time at full throttle. So yeah, the old 2G4 AIO was perfection. No bullshit. It was a half a gram heavier than the new AIO, but I will take a half a gram for not having any of these weird issues and just being like bomb proof. So if you can find a 2G4 for sale, snag it. And like I said, I personally, I would be willing to spend $100 on one. They're that good. And they're so durable that the reason why I'm willing to spend $100 is that I'm pretty sure it's going to outlast any other AIO at least twice or maybe even 3 or 4 times as long. So I don't give a shit about $100 because I'm not down with buying $50 AIO, $50 AIO, $50 AIO for, right, every time they break. So yeah, there you go. Walter says you should make one with a sat stick in there and do drone wars. Sate stick. What's a sate stick? Without meat? What the hell's that? Without meat? What's a sat stick? Sate stick. I don't know what that is. Frank Nicholas says air unit is not 20 by 20. Air unit light / Vista is 20 by 20. Technically speaking, sure, but lots of people, myself included, call the 20 by 20s air units. So yeah. Striker says, call it the Tiny Whoop Super Pro Max Deluxe 2.0 Extreme Insanity 1 million Ultimate Ball Sack Obliterator 2000. Curtis Hayes says, you're confusing military service with the military industrial complex. Yeah, true. Army and airmen are under the poverty line for the first 4 years. Your freedom isn't free. That is for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not about money. It's just about, like, yeah, it's signing up is a hell of a it's a hell of a thing to do. It's a hell of a thing to do. Walter says here in back of the field, you don't have to be on front. I'm not sure. Just not sure. YouTube just did the thing again, trying to scroll back up. There we go. Striker says, distressing. Most college students don't know the size order of celestial objects. Some people out there in college don't know the size difference between planets, moon, star, galaxy, etc. Yeah, but I mean, you know, one of the things that happens in college is that you get to, you know, pick a target and go for that target. And if the target that you're going for has nothing to do with astronomy, yeah, I don't know. It's in your first 2 years of school, though, there are a lot of general classes that you have to take, which, you know, in theory, that's what's really expanding your mind. But hey, Curtis Hayes says Space Force is pretty high tech. It is indeed. I cannot believe that it exists, and I think it's insane that it exists. But hey, that's just me. There's literally wars going on in space every day. It's protecting citizens of all nations, happening because of really smart military people. Yeah, I don't know. It's all pretty insane to me. Chris Croft says, I've seen the OSD toggle disabled a few times. I have too. It's super rare. And whenever I see it, I'm like, really? Why? Curtis Hayes says, Mobula6 is HDZero camera, and the OSD is set for HD video format. Okay, right. You said it was an HDZero Mobula6. So if the OSD isn't working, in the ports tab, you got to make sure that the correct MSP is selected. And then you said that HD is selected in the OSD tab. So yeah, it's probably a ports tab problem. Jun Logo says, been flying 7 years and I'm afraid to say that I'm starting to get bored of FPV. You need to fly different stuff, brother. You need to start chasing. You need to start doing like subject driven flying. I get it. I'm pretty bored of freestyle flying in parking lots outside. Indoor freestyle is hysterically fun though, for example. And so yeah, you need to switch it up. You need to look at like a different discipline, right? Like start flying long range or go hard on tiny whoop stuff. You probably also need to find something that's challenging. That's what has really kind of renewed my interest in freestyle FPV is that tiny whooping inside the house is incredibly difficult. Chasing the little RC drift cars is incredibly difficult. So yeah, that's my suggestion. Is look for another discipline. Racing, maybe, right? Racing is incredibly difficult. Look at that. There's all these different disciplines within FPV, and yeah, that's what I think would help. Kiz Bartlett is in the house. What's up, brother? He says, what if you don't have the environment to test those motors, as you said? If you don't have the environment. That was at 11. That was 8 minutes ago. What were we talking about? Testing motors. What motors were we? Why don't I remember this? It was 8 minutes ago. Motors? What motors? What motors were we talking about 8 minutes ago? I don't remember talking about motors. Kiz, tag me again and give me more to go off of. Oh! Motor heat. What if you don't have the environment to test motor heat, as you said? Don't have the environment? What's that mean? Don't have the environment? You're just gonna fly it and then just go get it and just touch them. I'm super confused. What I don't know what environment could possibly have to do with it. Like, you're gonna put the quad down, you're gonna fly it a little bit, and then you're gonna touch the motors. I'm sure that I'm just missing something and being very smooth brained. Tag me again, kids. I'm not putting two and two together on this one. Cloud Opera says, I've been buying ELRS 2G4 AOs from AliExpress, and they've been delivering fairly quickly for about $60. Damn, dude. I'm still so... You know what? I have to do that AliExpress order for the for that camera. I'm gonna get a 2G4. How do you find it on here? 2G4. Fuck you with your pop-ups. Oh my god. I cannot believe websites are still doing pop-ups. They should be beaten with a hammer. There it is. 5506. What a deal. Why is there this one for 48? What? Version 3.3? Why are there so many of them for such drastically different prices? What the hell? Why are there 4? Why are there 5? What? Why are there so many listings for it? What is happening? Is this real life? This is insane. Oh, they're like... I didn't realize they're like Amazon. Look, they have different... yeah, they let different people... Oh, interesting. I didn't know that about AliExpress. So they're just a fucking Amazon. Look at that. I'll be damned. Huh. Well, this one's 55, so this is the tab I'm going to leave open. Or not. There it is. Cool. Good call. Thank you for that reminder. That they sell them. Morton Upshot says, have you personally had your Mobula6... Come on, YouTube. Get your shit together. Have you personally had your Mobula6 2024 AIO blow up? Not yet. Nope. But many people in the chat that I trust and people that I've done like one-on-one Fiverr sessions with have had many of them let go right out of the box. I've also talked to Jesse from Tiny Whoop about it, and he's confirmed that, like, yeah, they're coming back. Like, not all of them, but, like, yeah, it's not like the 2G4. It's nothing like the 2G4. And maybe they'll get it straightened out, but, yeah. Rye says, old Happy Model Mobula 6 is in stock at GetFPV. Is this the 2G4 one? Yo. GetFPV just recently had them in stock. And now they have them in stock again. I'll be damned. That's awesome. Let's see, though. Yep. Look at that. these are going to come with 0802 19,000 kV motors, which are pretty worthless unless you can find somebody that's doing Underground Whoop League, because that's their spec motor, 0802 19,000. But yeah, outside of Underground Whoop League, these 0802 19,000s are worthless. And I guess you could use them on like a 2S build, maybe, but I don't know what you would do. I don't know why you would ever do 802s on a 2S build. So yeah, the motors are pretty worthless buying it like this. But, I mean, the motors do work, and the bells are perfectly good, so that you can, if you bought, like, proper high KV 802s, you could use these bells and swap these bells on. And you are, you know, so basically for $116, you're getting the best camera, canopy, and AIO ever. And to be honest, that's not a terrible deal. And then if you can sell somebody these motors in this frame for $20, now you're down below $100. That's a pretty damn good deal. BLDO550 with a $5 super chat. He says, okay. Words eluded him. Motor Fund. Thank you so much, homie. We are getting there. Rybread, good call. Thank you for mentioning that. Timmons says, 10-second runtime. I mentioned something to CiottiFPV about doing Batwing for the Mobula 7 as well. Hopefully we can compile data and get it done. I don't know. Well, so the existing 75mm cockroach frame is, even though it has the hooks on it, it is unbelievably fragile. I guess it wouldn't be as fragile on like an analog, set up analog, but like I've used that frame quite a bit on the tiny lifters, but they're heavy. You know, they're 2S. They're carrying around a 26 gram Insta360 Go. So yeah, maybe the Cockroach 75, when it's built to be super lightweight, would not be so fragile. It's just, the problem is that the places where it breaks, it's really thin, and the plastic is kind of brittle too. So I don't think so. I don't think that frame will ever really be durable. Just again, because like I've broken a bunch of them and I've seen where they break, and they break in these spots where it's like, well, yeah, of course it's going to break there. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Walter says, ooh, he will be damned on Ali is okay. Mr. Thomas says AliExpress ships faster and has better customer service than GetFPV. That's certainly not been my experience. Although I've never ordered from AliExpress, but GetFPV has always shipped very fast and had the best customer service in the business in my experience, and many others in chat. Striker says, what are the best T-mount motors for 3.5 inch? No such thing as best. There's just different. And the best motors for 3.5 inch, I have no idea. Is this, we talking 3.5 inch toothpick, 3.5 inch Cinewoop, 3.5 inch long range rig, 3.5 inch freestyle basher? Yeah, there's a million different builds that will use all different motors that are better. Walter says, check this later. At Ali, you should check who is selling the most. Then you got a trusted seller. I think he likes to give you an affiliate link success. I talked to them and they listened to a customer. That makes sense. Nice. I will do that before I order, since there's so many different options for that 2G4. Kevin the Alien says, AliExpress sells titanium M1. No. Fuck off. Do they really? What are motor screws? Are motor screws M1.2 or M1.4? I've always meant to look it up, but I never have. Oh, shit! Look at that! Yo! That is exciting. M1.4. Thank you, Kevin. I had a feeling. So I am gonna buy some. I'm gonna measure the tiny little short screws that Newbie Drone uses and get some titanium ones to go even lighter. Good call, dude. Good fucking call. Look at all these AliExpress tabs I've opened. What in the Sam Hill? This is weird. Scotty Scott says, been flying an X12 and a Meteor 75 Air. Been through about 30 batteries, still in great shape. It is white. My first X12 only lasted about 10 batteries, which is super disappointing. I gave it another shot, and I've put probably about 100 batteries through it, and it's been totally fine. So the X12 seems like it's pretty durable, but I have heard from way more people that they've had X12s let go than 2G4. The 2G4 just seems like it's God. And the X12, like, unless you're going to run 2S, there's not much of a benefit to the X12. The worst thing about the X12 is that it's oversized, so it doesn't fit in most frames. Luckily, the Mobula7 V4 frame, which it does fit in, is a really, really good frame. But yeah, the X12 is oversized. That's super annoying. You don't really need the higher amperage FETs. It's because it's oversized, it's also heavier. So like the X12 is super interesting, and like if you're gonna try to run 2S, it's an option. I don't know if I would trust it on 2S. If I'm gonna, if you've got like an AIO that's rated for 1S to 2S, I'm only gonna run that on 1S. If I'm gonna run 2S, I'm gonna get something like this that's rated up to 3S or 4S. Just because AIOs are such a nightmare in terms of durability anyway. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea not to push them to their absolute voltage limit. So yeah, that's what I think about that. Timon says, we were thinking the Mobula7 V3 2S frame and the 75X frame with the crossfire mounts for the Batwing. Oh shit, that's right. That's right. They've got the little slots. Yeah. I remember now. Good call. Yeah, we're gonna do something. We're gonna figure it out for sure. Scott. We got that. Kevin the Alien says they're 2mm. Awesome. Do they sell them that small? 20 pieces. That's all we really need is 20 pieces. M 1.4. Shortest length is 4mm. Damn. Come on, man. Well, it looks like there's a million. I'll have to take a look. Oh, done. $1.80. What the hell? That is ridiculous. $1.80. Okay. Job done. Scotty Scott says, look up. I was really talking about the Meteor 75 airframe. Been flying an X12 and a Meteor 75. I guess I haven't tried to fit an X12 into a Meteor 75 airframe. That's pretty cool that fits in there. Very cool. Because I like the Meteor 75 airframe a lot. Damn, nice. Striker says, let me rephrase this, my bad. What are some good suggestions for a 3.5-inch T-mount in the 16 to 18 range, all up weight 280 to 300? There aren't a whole lot of options in the 16 to 18 range. You've got the T-Motor 1604s, you've got the T-Motor 1804s, and then you've got the X-Nova 1804s. That's kind of it. Those would be what I would go with for sure, though. One of those motors. Walter says, like me, you're going to be an Ali fan. Also, a lot of people check it on YouTube. They sponsored and like feedback and their response. Yeah, it's insane that I've never ordered from AliExpress. McBuka says, looks like you can get a Mobula6 with 25,000 kV motors, but it's free sky. Yeah, it's... Then you've got a useless AIO, unfortunately. Scotty Scott says, look up. And we got that. Striker says, my friend flies 3S, 2100 kV, 5-inch. Is he cooked? No. It's just not going to have much power. The flight footage is going to look awesome, though. Eva FPV says, have you messed around any with the 3D printer yet? I have not. I'm waiting to do it on a live stream. I want to do a live stream that's something like, you know, the last person ever in FPV to actually start 3D printing. I got to come up with a snazzy title. And then, yeah, I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to grease the rails because that's kind of the only setup that's left to do. And then get it all going and dive into the software and yeah, beg chat for help is my current plan. Walter says, one time I was talking to an engineer of a factory what I needed. He was so interested. He was what the hell's wet sapping me when he was in Netro Homewards. I also don't know what Netro Homewards is. Kevin the Alien says, order a few packs. Those were only 10 count. Nice. Yeah, I didn't even look at the quantity yet. Cloudhopper says, I'm considering building an ultralight 3-inch analog rig to carry Runcam Thumb 4K. I have a Darwin 3S ELRS AIO. What motors and props would you recommend? I am not the guy for that sized rig, unfortunately. Take a look at Sub 250 FPV on Instagram and look at his setups, and he's got lots of flight footage so you can see how much power they do or don't have. And then look up Quad 66 here on YouTube. Those guys are way more dialed in on 2S and 3S. I have not been in the 2S and 3S world for 5 or 6 years, and everything has changed. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm not the guy. My guess is going to be like a 1204 in maybe 8,000 kV, but that's just a guess. Check those guys; they're actually in that universe. Curtis Hayes says, got my OSD working by using the HDZero preset and applying it. That mapped the UART properly for me. Nice. Striker says, what do you think of the Flyfishrc 1804s? There are X-Nova and T-Motor 1804s. I would never go with a Flyfish product because of that. If there are good, trustworthy manufacturers making something in a certain size, get those. Don't get the weird off-brand because, you know, when your shit falls out of the sky and it's unrecoverable, you just lost a ton of money. And so paying a couple extra dollars for motors from a trusted company makes an awful lot of sense. June Logo says, have you flown FR Sky upstairs yet? No. I have not flown FR Sky at all since I've been in this house. I have no idea if it would make it upstairs. I have to assume so, though. I flew some FR Sky stuff in Maggie's old rental house, and it was actually completely fine. It's just the latency sucks. The biggest thing with Tiny Whoops and ELRS is the decrease in latency. It makes a massive difference. Denzel the Terrible says, title for 3D printing stream, Ciotti finally submits to 3D printing daddy. Not happening. Eva FPV says, we could do that Friday, although it'd potentially be a funnier stream without my help. Oh yeah, no, it has to be me all alone screaming and yelling. Oh shit. Okay. Oh shit. We've been waiting to buy tickets for this trip at the end of the month, and oh fuck. All right, well, this could be really bad. Hopefully not, though. Oh Christ. All right, cool. Caught up on chat. Time to do 2S 75mm Walksnail things. Let's dive in. So the biggest, most awful thing that we're gonna have to the shit sandwich that I'm gonna have to take a big bite of is the fact that I cut these wires too short. and I would really like to mount this VTX in the orientation that, yeah, I would really like to mount it like this, because the antenna is on the back. That'll let me run an ultra short antenna right out the back of this thing. And yeah, it just, everything kind of stacks up in a way where the two boards are going to be nice and close together, which is pretty important with these Walksnail rigs where you're double stacking these and then just running M1.2 by 12 screws down through in order to get some semblance of durability. And this is a freestyle rig, so durability is going to be super important. The other option being I mount it like this, but I really don't like that because the UFL is, like I showed in a previous stream, the UFL is right on top of the motor plugs, and I just, look, this is being built as a freestyle rig, so I want it to be able to freestyle, and so I want to be able to crash it. And like, these two boards are only going to be separated with rubber grommets, and so there's an absolute possibility that one board could come down and slap into the other board. And yeah, I also hate the idea of having the UFL in between the two boards, because then, like, if I have to swap the antenna or something like that, it just becomes a total nightmare. So yeah, I'm going to do the horrible, annoying thing and sit here and pick this liquid electric tape off, which I was really hoping to do yesterday or during the day today, but I have had zero time to do anything FPV. So here we are. I apologize for that, my friends. I know this is not the most exciting thing to watch, but let this be your let this encourage you to not cut your Walksnail wires too short. Because if you do, this is the nightmare that lies ahead of you. I've done as much of this as I possibly can with a wooden toothpick, but realistically, you're going to have to come in here with really thin, really sharp tweezers to get all of this liquid electric tape off. And you really do need to get pretty much all of it off because it is non-conductive. And when these companies really slam it on here, and then you bring the soldering iron in, it like kind of liquefies and it can kind of move around and walk around. And so, yeah, you really do need to just kind of sit here and pick it off. Super annoying, I know. I'm going to try to talk through chat, though, as I do this. Just give me 1 second. I just want to get this little chunk off here. These tweezers used to be really good, but now they seem to be screwing up. Let's try a different set of tweezers. Wow, these are way better. Jesus. These are the janky ones that I don't use all that much. But they are actually much flatter together than the black ones. That's good to know. All right. Where the hell is the chat at? Eva says, just rubber grommets, paint that shit with conformal for the love of all that is holy. Yeah, that's what I was talking about last week, I guess it was. I was thinking about doing that, but no, I would rather not run that risk. I'm going to have that UFL up on top where it belongs, like in all the other builds that I've done with Walksnail. I think that makes a lot of sense. I hate the idea of having something metal exactly above a set of motor pads. That just seems like an accident waiting to happen. So we are going to do it the right way rather than the lazy way. That's kind of the other thing here is that, yeah, there's a million lazy ways that I could make this current setup work. But, you know, this is a tiny whoop that's like, this is like a $200+ tiny whoop, right? Like Walksnail is over $100. And then the whoop itself is at least 150, right? You know, well, maybe not, but still, it's an expensive tiny whoop, and so, like analog tiny whoops, there is an element of like fuck it, one way whoop it. It's you know, what is it? A stock Mobula6, $100? Like, not the end of the world if you lose it forever, but then you start dragging Walksnail around and the price literally doubles, and it's like, okay, that's a bit too much. Like, let's take the time and do this absolutely right. So yeah, I mean, this is it, man. Like, this is how you get this liquid electric tape off. Tiny piece by tiny piece by tiny piece by tiny piece. This is why it's the worst. And anybody that uses it, I'm looking at you, TBS, should be beaten with a stick. It's just awful. Like like for you to use this on your products, what it says to me is that you've never built a quad with one of your own products, and that's not good. Like, if you've got a product, you should be using it, and like if you were using it, then at some point you would have to go through this, and then you would go through this and you would go, oh my God, why have I done this to every single one of my customers? I am an actual monster and I didn't even realize it. Hey Gary, let the guys know to stop using liquid electric tape. It's the worst shit ever. And Gary would be like, you son of a bitch, I told you this 3 years ago, and you wouldn't listen. What the hell? Bit by bit by bit by bit. It refuses to come off in like a big chunk is the main problem with liquid electric tape. It does this. It does exactly what you're seeing. It only comes off in these tiny little bullshit ass pieces. Use E6000 for fuck's sake. Use hot glue for Christ's sakes. Use anything other than liquid electric tape. What the hell? Unless they're doing it to discourage you from doing this, right? Maybe they're like, well, if we use liquid electric tape, they'll take one look at it if it breaks and be like, nah, bro, I'm just going to buy another one. This is some bullshit. Maybe that's it. That's just good business right there. Capitalism. Yay! Fuck your customers over at every possible opportunity. They won't leave. Wait, you mean everybody is ditching all of their TBS stuff? Oh, well, what? That's weird. I thought you could just screw your customers over forever and be okay. Oh, you can't? You mean they're all going to ELRS? Every single one of them? Jesus. Well, you know, live and learn, I guess. Live and learn. I was blown away at Rampage by how many people hate TBS now. Oh my God. I thought it was just me, but I felt like everybody that I ran into was bagging on them for some reason or another, talking about like, man, I can't wait for the dual band ELRS to come out so I can get rid of every single TBS product. Like, so many people were saying that. I was like, holy shit, that's wild. I felt very seen. Oh my god, come on! There we go. Alright, we're almost there. I'm going to have to desolder these wires, and then I'm going to have to do a little bit more of this. There's a bunch of this under where the wires are, which is one of that's the thing about liquid electric tape. It's really loose, and so it flows all over the place. Right? Like E6000 would have just stood up on top here. It wouldn't have gone like under these wires. But liquid electric tape is very like viscous. And so you put it on and then it just flows and fucking moves all around and gets in all the worst possible places. Nasty, nasty, terrible stuff. All right, so we should be able to desolder that now. Do me a favor, somebody in chat, somebody type into chat, gray, white, black, red. Gray, white, black, red. Outside to inside. Outside, type this into chat. Outside, gray, white, black, red, inside. Hopefully that'll make sense in 20 minutes when I go to solder up new wires here. All right, get some flux up in here. 661 says the liquid electric tape on TBS products makes it FCC compliant. That's why it's on there. That is the most maddening thing that I've ever read. 661 says continue to rant when you have no idea what you're talking about. 661, you've been kind of a dick lately. You don't have to be here. Like, you can watch something else. Don't be a dick, man. What the fuck? Striker says, what if instead of CiottiFPV, name was Freakyotti? Instead of building quads, you got freaky with quads. That'd be weird. Chris Croft says, I have Walksnail 1S board, the update plug that pretty much fell off. Yeah, I've heard about the update plugs not being super durable. The first one or two, I put like a little layer of something on top. You know, it would be smart. I wonder if this is what I used, but Bondic would be really good. Bondic dries really hard, so it would be probably a really good thing to just put a little layer of it on top of these. I'm actually going to do that right now since we're here, and this is a freestyle rig. Apparently, when these break, and I've seen it on one, they'll crack on like the corners here, and then the top plastic piece comes off, and then you're doomed. So what I did on the other one, and what I'm going to do on this one, is to just put a little layer of Bondic, and then it will dry, it will harden hard. You know, like, I hate to be a dick, 661, but like, I do have like a standing rule, which is just don't be a dick, right? And like, that applies to everyone, unfortunately. And like, I appreciate you, man, but like, this isn't the first time that you've broken that rule. And so I hate to call you out, but like, you know, you fucking called me out. So what goes around comes around. And that's it. That Bondic is going to be pretty well cured now. And the top of that thing is going to be nice and strong. If you really wanted to go crazy, you could put some down the sides and maybe like run a little bit around the back and then maybe run it around the side here as well. But I'm just going to be doing the top part here. I'm pretty gentle with them too. I whenever I have to plug into these, like, I know that that's a weak point, so I'm always very, very gentle with it. EvaFPV says, are you still running Crossfire on non-whoops? I have Crossfire on all of the 5-inch rigs and all of the Cinewhoops and the live flying rigs as well. I still have Crossfire and a bunch of stuff. But as soon as that dual band shit comes out, it's over. Curtis Hayes says, capitalism, where you make a product, Chinese copy it, and when people realize they can buy it for less at AliExpress, they dump their local sellers. Yep. Yep. Striker says, I maybe possibly have TikTok Sigma lobotomy brain rot humor. Chris Croft says, the entire plug comes off. There are 4 pads you solder USB plug to. What? Denzel the Terrible says, what is a Bondic? Yeah, it's UV resin. Jun Logo says, he behaves 90% of the time. It's true. So this one says, yeah, sorry, but LOL. There's a reason they use the liquid tape. Trappy has talked about it. That was just a lot of rant about it. I know that stuff sucks to remove, but it does its job well. I guess. I don't know. I still don't like it. And I mean, I have 10 hours a week to fill, so, you know, if I don't rant, it's just going to be silence, and that people don't like silence. Rocket Tech says, cool, does it make sense to use Bondic on motor plugs, camera plugs, etc.? Now, you know, I don't really like Bondic that much because it's hard to peel off. And so I really only use Bondic. Well, the one time to use Bondic is when you need to bond something immediately. So like out in the field, it's amazing because you do what I did and it's hard to the touch. It's not totally cured, but it's also not coming off on my finger, right? So like in the field, Bondic is amazing. But E6000 I like so much better. And yeah, I use E6000 99% of the time. And then, but in this case where I'm trying to stiffen the top of this plastic, Bondic dries harder. E6000 dries kind of rubbery, almost very similar to hot glue. And so, yeah, just different substances for different uses. I don't use Bondic very often. I've not been super impressed by Bondic in the past. It's annoying to remove, and it feels like it like when you're removing it, you gotta pull like really hard on it, and it feels like it's about to destroy or like rip components off. So yeah, it's just creepy. E6000 is God. That's some bullshit that they have to use it for compliance. That is nonsense. All right, I hope somebody typed into chat what colors these are. I thought these were through holes, but these are pads. I think that these used to be through holes. So this is the factory lead-free solder on here. So we're gonna remove it because it takes a couple of seconds. And then we're going to retin these pads with leaded solder because it's so much better. So we're going to take our copper braid here, lay it over pretty much all 4. There's not much solder on these. I'm going to try to get damn near all of them at once. And then, there we go. I didn't quite get the last one. Come back on here, wipe off the pad. There we go. Put some more heat into the pads. And we're good. So we've removed the majority of that lead-free solder. And away we shall go. So there's actually still a little bit of flux kind of floating around here, but then there's also flux in the core of the solder, so we don't really need to flex these pads right now. We're going to put the tip of the soldering iron on the right side of the pad, and then we're going to add the solder in between the pad and the tip of the soldering iron. There's 1, there's 2, 3, and 4, just in case you didn't know how to count. And now we've got fresh, good quality leaded solder on there. We can get cancer. It'll be great. It'll be great. All right, I'm gonna leave these wires hooked up to the flight controller, and we're just gonna rewire this first. So I need some 30 gauge wire. Where do I have some extra of that? How about in here? Yeah, there we go. All right, hold on. No, I know where. Let's go in the immersion RC box. I got a whole bunch in here. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna repurpose one of these guys. Yeah. Oh wait, what's this one? Hold on. How long are these wires? Is this just barely long enough? I think it is. Not. I mean, it might be like absolutely perfect. So if I cut that off there, cut it right there, and then, oh man, it might be like absolutely perfect, or it might be like 1 millimeter too short. And if it's 1 millimeter too short, I'm gonna light the building on fire. Yeah, okay. No, it might be too short. Not doing it. I'll use a fresh one here. This is the plug that you get with immersion RC stuff that you use to hook up to the to this little thing, which is what their wand interfaces with, which no one ever used more than the very first time that they used it, and then went, this is silly. That's not true. Actually, more than once that I've gotten to fly with Tommy over the years, oh my god, he used the wand to change settings on his immersion stuff. Tommy was one of the few immersion RC actually, he might have been the only immersion RC sponsored freestyle pilot, and so yeah, he is like the only one that I've ever seen use the wand more than once. The wand was just like a little handheld thing that you would dial your VTX settings into, and then you would wand it near that thing, and it would change the settings on the VTX. That shit was revolutionary back then. Oh, how times have changed in FPV. All right, so we got that, and then so I'm just gonna kind of line these up, and I'm gonna give myself a little bit extra. So like that. That'll be plenty. Okay. And there we go. So there are the 30 gauge wires that I'm going to use, courtesy of Immersion RC. Chris Croft says, similar deal now with DJI goggles 3/Integra have non-removable antennas. It's compliance requirements. I didn't realize that. That's wild. What a pain in the ass. Rocket Tech says, I've never had copper webbing work that well. What am I doing wrong? You are not running your iron hot enough. So as soon as you touch the tip of the iron to the braid absorbs a bunch of the heat. So all the heat comes out of the tip of the iron. So you want your soldering iron at least at 700 degrees. The other thing that you can do is very slightly tin the tip of the soldering iron, so that because what happens is the dry soldering iron goes against the dry braid, and there's not enough contact patch to transfer the heat from the tip of the iron into the braid and then into the pad below it, right? So if you tin, just pick up a little bit of solder on the tip of the soldering iron. When you touch the braid, there'll be a nice contact patch because that liquid will seep into the braid, and then that'll heat the braid up really nice, and then the braid will then, you know, dive down into the pads and transfer the heat into the pads, and then that solder will get pulled up. So yeah, I did not have much luck with the braid either for a while until I kind of screwed around a little bit and just kind of thought about, when you're having problems with soldering, 9 times out of 10 the problem is related to heat transfer. So if you just like stop yourself and then think about what's happening with the transfer of the heat, a lot of times you can kind of figure out what the hell's going on. And it looks like I did manage to get the rest of that liquid electric tape off, so we are good to go. Did somebody in chat type the colors for me? Maybe? Hopefully. Flux also helps. Yeah. Add some extra flux. There's powder flux in the core of the braid, but adding a little bit of like paste or liquid flux definitely helps out. There we go. Rocket Tech, thank you. Gray, white, black, red. Okay, so gray and white. And now I've got blue and green. How can I do this? Gray is kind of like, gray is more like blue than green, I think. Right? Oh man, these wires are like copper on the inside. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. It's fine. Or is white more like blue? White, W and B versus green and white? Green, G and W? What I'm thinking of is that in the future, I'm going to look up Walksnail light wiring diagram on the internet, and they're going to show it as gray and white wires. So if I can do this in a way that like kind of makes sense, I won't have to like look at the pads. It'll just make my life a little bit easier. I don't think I have any gray wire anywhere. 30 gauge wire at least. I certainly have white 30 gauge wire. But I already selected this. And I like green and blue. So, you know, go to hell if you don't like it too. All right. The next question is, should I wrap... I could run these wires outwards and then wrap them under the board. But if I do that... Nope. Well, yeah, I could do that. So I could run these wires facing out like this. So the way that they have them run is like that, right? What I could do is run them out like this and then immediately wrap them under the board, and then they will be nicely out of the way. So they'll cross the antenna, they'll cross over here, and then I can turn these guys inwards. I am not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to send them this way because then they can... Yeah. I'm going to run them the way that Walksnail runs them. Because then I can loop them here. And then if there's too much wire, this loop... Yeah, because if there's too much wire and I do this, it's going to get all jammed up in between the two boards. I don't know how to really explain that. This is just me figuring out how can I get these two boards as close to one another as possible without having... And the way to do that is to have as little shit in between them as possible. Hopefully that all makes sense. Hopefully some of that makes sense. I can't see the new... so I'm tinning these wires, but I'm just hanging the wires off the side of the desk to do that. You've seen me tin wires a million times. Hold on, let me just knock this out real quick. Hold on. And I can't see what's happening in chat because I've scrolled up to see the wiring colors. So just give me 1 second. There's one tinned. There's number 2. Here comes number 3. And number 4. All right, good deal. So those guys are tinned. Now I need to solder them onto the right spots. So gray, white, black, red. Black, red. I think gray is closer. No, I'm so stupid. Gray and green both start with G. Someone typed that in chat. Guaranteed. If nobody typed that in chat, thanks for nothing, you jerks. I am going to add just a touch of flux here because I have been on these pads a few times now, so there's probably not much flux left on here. I'm just putting a little tiny bit, like much less than I normally do, just so that there's some. And all right, here we go. Gray, green, both the letter G. All right, so get the wire in the perfect position first before you bring the tip of the soldering iron in, and that way, when you bring the soldering iron in, you don't really have to do much. Although I just totally screwed that up. So the silicone on these wires is pretty thick. So I got to make a little bit of an angle since these pads are totally flat. Whoo, geez. All right, I'm having a hard time doing this by hand. Let's get into the tweezers. So what's nice about the tweezers is you can grab the wire right up by the tip, and then it won't like kind of wiggle around in the same way that it sometimes does when you're holding it with your fingers. So let's get it perfectly here. There we go. So we're going to go green, then we're going to go blue. Teddy, how are you, sir? What are you doing back there? You came down at the perfectly wrong time, my friend. All right, so there's blue, which is the same thing as white. In our case. And then we've got black. And then red. No. Ground pad, as always, being a pain in the ass. Try one more time, and then I'm going to add some flux. Oh, man, that's ugly. All right, so one of the problems is that the tweezers were pushing up against the blue wire, and I was unable to get the... all right, so I need to push this down so it's being held. And now we need to come in at a different angle with the tweezers. This should be better. Grab the wire with just the tip of the tweezers. Fuck. That's not what I wanted, but I think we can make this work. I want to get the wire flatter on the pad. You can see, hopefully you can see, the solder is starting to chase the tip of the soldering iron. That is a surefire sign that all of your flux is gone. If when you pull the tip of the soldering iron away, it makes like a little like mountain or like a little Hershey Kiss looking thing, that means your flux is all gone. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take the tip of the tweezers, I'm going to put it super flat. and I'm going to push down on the wire. The tip of the tweezers is pretty sharp. It should be just enough to flatten this wire perfectly out against the board. Let's find out. There it is. That's what I wanted. All right, last one. We've got our voltage wire here, and ugh, gross. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Okay, push down on the silicone. There we go. Just give it a second to cool down. There it is. These two wires are a little bit separated from each other, but that's actually okay because there's this component on the board here. Wires are nice and flat. Solder joints are really nice. Good to go. Now we're going to put liquid electric tape on this and make our lives a living hell. No, we're not, because we don't have any bullshit compliance to deal with. Man, that's some nonsense. All right. I don't know why I just did that. I'm going to need this putty again. All right, so we're good to go. Let me scroll back down in chat and get caught up. Walter says, do you clean your soldering iron on end, or do you tip our point in tin? When you're done soldering, put it in the stand. Don't clean it. When you take it, because any leftover solder is going to prevent the tip from oxidizing. So when you're done working, it goes right in the stand. When you take it out of the stand, if it's dirty, clean it. This type of cleaner is the way to go, in my opinion. Clean it when you take it out of the stand, and then I have this little thing of like tip reconditioner that every once in a while I'll put the tip in. But just when you pull it out of the stand, clean it, and you should be good to go. And then tin it, get your flux going, and yeah, you'll be all set. That's the way to do it. Timon says, I dropped a video on Livestream Live. Is that bad multipathing, or that I'm getting in the video, or just the fact the antenna has no ground plane? Let's see. That's multipathing. Yeah, that's multipathing. Looks like you're flying in a metal room. The video is the size of a postage stamp, but it looks like you're flying around in a metal room. And yeah, that's just multipathing. If you don't have a ground plane on the antenna, though, that's going to make the multipathing way worse. In multipath heavy environments, antennas matter big time. Circular polarized is the absolute best. Proper whip antenna with the ground plane is kind of like second best. Cheap shit ass dumb lightweight and janky antennas that I've showed you how to make in the past is the absolute worst case scenario. But yeah, that's what multipathing looks like. Sherman24 says, where can I get Mobula6 motor screws? Newbie Drone. Newbie Drone sells regular old motor screws, regular length motor screws, which are M1.4 by 4, I believe. Either by 4 or by 3. I think it's by 4, though. M1.4 by 4. Or you can just buy them on like eBay or Amazon or wherever. Okay, so these wires are now long enough, but I think they're actually too long. Hold on, I gotta piss. Here. Watch Watch this. Watch this! Oh, I can't play that. That's gonna, whatever. It's gonna get me copyright dinged, but it's worth it. TGIFPV. All right, back to twerk. I'm very disappointed in you guys. The Mobula 6, the old school Mobula 6 is not sold out yet over on GetFPV. What are you doing? I lied. It is now sold out. Oh no, it's not. No, it's not. It's still in. If you want an old school Mobula 6, they're in stock over on GetFPV. Okay. Rocket Tech got 2. Nice. Awesome. Okay. What's next? Soldering to the flight controller. Here we go. Alright, so let me check the wire length though. Alright, so this is if I had done what I'm about to do right now, I wouldn't have cut these wires too short. So if I stack these, take the nerd goggles off. If I stack these up like this, because this is the orientation that I want, and then I wrap these wires around. Okay. It's really annoying to have to like cut these wires so perfectly to prevent to be able to slam these things so close to each other, but I mean, yeah, whatever. All right, so that needs to go around there. So basically flat on there and then wrap it around like that. And then, all right, so that's flat. Wrap it. And so the pads are on the top of the board, but I'm going to wrap them down to the bottom of the board to give myself just a little bit extra. Man, I almost cut these wires too short. Jesus. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little mark in the ground. And then I can cut it. And now I'm just going to use that ground wire to cut the rest. Because it's a straight run. Pull these guys out like this. Just pull them straight out. Jesus, come on. All right, there we go. Good. Pull those guys straight out like that. Line them up real nice. And then I cut the ground wire to the appropriate length, so just use that as a guide to cut the others. Whew, yeah, I barely cut these long enough. All right, good deal. So that should be fine now. And again, this is all in an effort to keep this thing as low profile as possible. So now we're going to strip these and tin them, which is super important because, yeah, these Walksnail Tiny Whoops, the way that these boards are mounted is kind of ridiculous. Unbelievably, though, it seems to be pretty durable. I don't know how or why, but yeah. They don't seem to break all the time. So, there we go. Okay. I like to use my fingernails to strip wires because your fingernails will never accidentally cut one of the internal strands of wire. And then after you strip it off, you just want to push the silicone back down a little bit. You don't have to, but it's a nice little trick. This way you can just strip off like the tiniest little bit of silicone, and then you push the existing silicone down a little bit more. This way you don't have like that ugly, weak area of individual strands of wire between the solder pad and the actual silicone. All right, so we're gonna face these all. Yeah, it's fine. They're all kind of up and floating, so we're going to tin them real quick here. Nerd goggles back on, of course. Tinning wires, you want to put the tip of the soldering iron below or off to the side, and then you want to push the solder through the strands of wire. Tin the tip of the iron real quick there, and that's all there is to it. Rotating the tip of the iron so that the blob is facing upwards. Second one, here comes the third one. This one I'm kind of doing left to right. And the last one. Try not to do this directly over the board so that if there's a little solder ball that drops, it doesn't drop into the board. If you are going to do it over the board, just pay really close attention because you'll see the solder ball drop and then you just got to go get it off of there. All right, cool. So that's good to go. Those are stripped. I'm going to put this board sideways, I think, like this. And then, yeah, that's how I want this to be. But I'm actually going to go like this so that you guys have a better view. Hopefully. Let's see. Yeah. It's about as good as it's going to get. Okay. Ground first. I am going to put some flux on these pads because I'm going to take these off and then add wires back on. And so this one little application of flux will do both of that. It will be enough for both of those things that we're about to do. And I'm just going to do these one wire at a time because like that way I don't have to remember which is which. So ground is here. Okay. And one of the things that I want to do is kind of keep these wires straight so that they're not folding over one another. So just separate them here like this. And then you can just sort of come in Like, yeah. All right, ground first. All right, good to go. Now we're going to do voltage. Okay. All right, the red wire seems to want to go underneath, so that's fine. Doesn't really matter. All right, get it perfect, and then get it exactly where you want it, and then bring the heat in. Not the other way around. Still going to be a little bit of finagling, but at least if you have it close. I'm actually going to redo that just to make sure. These pads are really close together, so I really want to get these dialed. I really want to get them perfectly centered on the pad. Okay, so it's going to be gray then white, so it's green then blue. Green then blue, green then blue, green then blue, green then blue. All right, gray, white, green then blue. So we're going to do green. Okay. There we go. Hopefully this camera's focusing. And I'm really paying attention to where the silicone is. I'm trying to get the silicone perfectly butted up against the PCB. Just redo this one real quick. I also want to make sure that the wire is flat on the pad. There we go. And then blue. And we went under, so we're going to go under. All right, last one. There we go. Looking good. All right, so now we want to point these wires upwards because that's the direction that they need to go. And I'm going to do that. I don't want to just take... So these wires need to loop up, right? Because this board is going to be mounted like that, right? So see that the wires need to go up. And so I want to kind of pre-bend them a little bit, but I'm not just going to take these and just start yanking them up because that's going to try to pull the pads off. I'm going to use my thumbnail, and I'm going to put my thumbnail on the solder joints and then use like the pads of my fingers to try to, actually I'll do it with the other finger. You know what I'm saying though, right? You want to hold these pads down and then just bend the wire. You don't want to bend the pad. You don't want to lift the pad. And now I'm going to do the ground pad. And you just want to put like a little bit of an angle on these wires. You want to force these wires to bend upwards as close to the pad as you can because they're going to be right up against the frame, right? So here's our frame. And now we can check it and make sure that they're going to clear the frame. And so we don't have the rubber grommets on here yet, but we will. And so this is where we're looking right here to make sure that these aren't going to be pushing into that duct. And even without the rubber grommets on here, even with this sitting all the way down flat, we're still fine. There's just ever so slight amount of clearance there. So yeah, we are good to go. Those pads are all set. So crisis averted. We dodged a bullet. Wish I could put a little bit more of an angle on those. Hold on, let me just look at them with the 5X loop. No, I actually have more of an angle than I thought on them, so it's fine. Well, that was stupid. Even though I was holding the pad down, it broke off. Every single thing that I have worked on in the last, like, 2 weeks has fucked up in one way or another. That was a TX pad. Maybe there's another UART on here. Otherwise, this board is shot. Yeah, there's another UART. There's T4 and R4. I don't have it in me right now though. I'm just gonna smash this into a million little pieces. Those pads are also off on. I don't even know if it's gonna clear. If I have to use those, oh, you bastard! I can't believe I was fucking saying it when it happened. Yeah, that's gonna suck because those pads are right in front of this thing. God damn it. Next time on CiottiFPV versus FPV, I gotta go deal with these tickets for this trip that we're going on. I'm done. It's 12:30. I'm also hungry as hell. Thanks for hanging. God damn it. I just want to put a little bit more bend in this wire. Make sure you hold the wire down. Thanks for hanging, friends. I'll see you on Friday at 7 o'clock. Oh my God, is this real life? Here's like the one main fly through that I was doing at the for the gig today. Love you guys. Bye.